My mother-in-law, she's been an absolute thorn in my side. Well, get this. Her, son, aka my husband, doesn't do anything to stop her. She's mad that he's with me because I have kids from another man in a different marriage. Now, she has stole the birthday gifts that I got for my kids, and she's going to donate them to the less fortunate. Well, I'm not going to allow this to happen, and I expected my husband to have my back. But he says this about his mother.
I'm conflicted as to whether the actions I've taken are correct or wrong. And I may have gone too far over a bunch of monetary stuff just to pick a fight with my mother-in-law. She, however, should have returned the gifts I'd purchased, and she would not be in this position right now. I grew up in a suburban town bustling with people in their lives, not caring about anyone else. I went to college here too, and I graduated and joined a tech company, which was where I first met my husband, Tom. You see, Tom and we clicked very fast, and it was not long before I was walking down the aisle with this man. We lived a happy life and had 2 kids who meant the world to us, and although our money was tight, we made sure our kids got everything they desired. My life was amazing. I had a loving husband and 2 kids, and I would not want anything more that could fulfill my life. But this happiness was short-lived. You see, my husband Tom, like the other people in the city, had thought of himself and had been fiending his love for me. I worked morning shifts like my husband, and I would drop the children off and drive to work. One unfortunate day, I had taken sick and decided to drive back home after dropping my kids off at school. I walked into a sight that broke my heart. My husband, who was supposed to be working his shift, was in bed with another woman. The man that I'd fallen in love with was cheating on me in our bed of marriage. Upon being caught, Tom acted guilty and tried to apologize, and even screamed and threw things at him as what I did. And when I had calmed down enough, I packed my stuff and got a hold of a few things for my kids and left to look for a hotel room. The woman was long gone when she saw me. Well, in the next few days, Tom sent me so many text messages saying how sorry he was and to give him another chance, and there are many things I can take, but I cannot handle infidelity. I sent Tom divorce papers, which he willingly signed as he understood I wanted nothing to do with them anymore. We decided not to take it to court and came to a mutual agreement that I would take the kids and he would have visiting rights. Tom kept up the pretense of meeting them for a few months. Later, he disappeared completely, like a ghost. I did not want to obscure the truth and told Ben and Jenny that their father had not been a very good person, and they probably would not be seeing him again anytime soon, to be honest. This divorce had been hard on them as they were just kids, and to watch their parents go from a loving couple to seeing their father disappear on them had been so tough. Well, nevertheless, I made sure to never let them feel the loss of a parent. My world had turned upside down, and my children were the only support that made me stay strong. For their sake, I would put on a fake smile if need be, and I gave myself a second chance at love life, as it was not my fault that Tom cheated. But who knew my luck would be that rotten? I moved to another city not far away from my hometown, and the change was to give me and my kids a fresh start, leave all the sadness in the past. It was refreshing, and for the first time I felt like I could breathe. Soon after moving to a new place, I met Liam. He was a friendly face at first, a neighbor in the apartment complex we lived in. Occasionally, she flashes a smile towards us, and we moved from highs and hellos to ranting about other neighbors, our lives, and our hectic jobs. Well, Ben and Jenny had taken a liking to him, and Liam was the sort of person who naturally got along well with children. Starting over in a new place was not easy, and I appreciated a friendly face. Liam and I had quickly become friends, without giving it a second thought, and he would show up with treats for Ben and Jenny, and lone Sunday afternoons did not seem too cold now that Liam was around. Time flies in the blink of an eye, and Liam and I started dating. Well, I was skeptical about it at first, as I did not know how to explain it to my kids. Liam told me I did not need to, and they would understand it in their own time, and was wise on his part to chip in. Liam's proposal had been quite different and tearful in a happy way. He slowly started insinuating that Ben and Jenny were his kids too. It moved to him doing all the things that a father does. From reading them stories in bed to camping trips in the forest, and the proposal came in the form of adoption papers. He wanted to adopt Ben and Jenny, and when I did not deny the request, he went down on one knee and asked me a lingering question. To my and others' surprise, I said no. Liam, however, had understood, and he knew I had a bad experience with marriage and told me to take all the time that I needed. And so we did. We took things slow. But I could not envision a life without him by my side and saw no point in the ruse I had kept up. It was rather grand for what would be my second wedding, but it was Liam's first, and I wanted to give him the best. The only problem had been his crappy mother. You see, she had disliked me from the very beginning. She hated that her son was dating a woman who was divorced and had children with another man. She had outdated thinking, and according to her, I was trash. I limited the contact with his mother, and Liam, too, did not mind, but marriage was going to change it all, as Liam had been the sole caretaker of his aging mother and did not want to leave her alone anywhere when he was more than capable of taking care of her. Well, the wedding had been a blast except for one thing. Liam's mother, Camilla, well, she would soon break all the boundaries I had and go to lengths to destroy the wedding atmosphere. She first showed up in a white dress. I'd specifically printed on the invitations that guests would not be allowed to wear white, as I would be the traditional bride in white. I let it slide, as Liam did not seem to care about who wore what, but there had been whispers here and there. Then she went around telling everyone how disgraceful I was to be marrying her son when I already had kids with my ex-husband. She even put in rumors as to how my ex-husband had, well, kicked me out after I cheated on him. I knew Liam was the one who had told her about what happened between Tom and me, but she had twisted the story to make me the villain and Tom an innocent victim of my infidelity. Camilla speculated that I was only with Liam for his money. I was an assistant at a small company, and my pay had been meager. While Liam was a software developer at an MNC with a rather large package at hand. I tried explaining to Camilla and showing her that I was not with Liam for his money or status. But of course it was to no avail. I had a job that had taken care of me and my kids thus far, and I had not been chasing after money when I met Liam. However, I could not do more, as people are allowed to have their opinions even if Camilla had been against me. After the wedding, I moved in with Liam and Camilla, along with my 2 children, Ben and Jenny. As bad as she may seem towards me, Camilla has been surprisingly sweet towards my children. It was for this sole reason that I was willing to put aside my differences with Camilla and just coexist as long as Ben and Jenny were happy. The initial days were filled with banter between me and Camilla, and it was annoying as they were over the tiniest of things. Like, for example, who got to read the children a bedtime story or drive them to school? Driving Ben and Jenny to school had been a small ritual where I got a chance to bond with my children before the day started. I'd be busy and arrive home later, tired from work, and in the morning drives, I would catch up with all that had been going on in their lives, from school crushes to A's on a test. It's been 3 years since I got married to Liam. The only problem is his mother, Camilla. She tries to dominate both me and her son and insert herself into my kids' lives. Both Ben and Jenny play basketball, and I made it a habit to be home early from work in order to drive them to practice. One day, Camilla had suggested she drive them instead, as it would give her an opportunity to bond with them too, and seeing how it did no harm to anybody, I complied. My mother-in-law taught an art class and would often boast about her creative skills. which she told me that I lacked, and she had constantly tried to get Ben and Ginny to enroll in her classes, but they seemed to take absolutely zero interest. Camilla's antics knew no boundaries. Instead of driving them to basketball practice like she was supposed to, she'd driven them to her art class and literally forced them to sit for an hour through it all, which ended up with them missing practice just before a big game. I was so mad, infuriated, when they got back home and told her this would be the last time that she would ever be driving my kids anywhere. I had a discussion with Liam and asked him to keep a check on his mother. Liam had only grunted back at the response, seeming disinterested in this rift between his mother and his wife. I, however, did not let it go that easy. I kept pushing him to either ask his mother to move out or suggest we get a new place instead. My cries, however, fell on deaf ears. It was the start of a new year, and life had been off to a great start as I got news of my promotion and a raise. Liam had been providing for all the necessities I could not dream of buying with my salary, but hey, the raise, which was small, was enough for me to increase my spending on Ben and Ginny. Their birthdays, well, they landed in January, and I wanted to have a grand celebration combined with a New Year's celebration. And so I bought 2 phones, a basketball, and a rather expensive gaming console with my mother and devised a plan to surprise Ben and Ginny with the gifts. With Ben and Ginny still being at school, I had come home with the gifts and hid them in my closet. I made sure to check that my mother-in-law had not been home either, as I knew she would create a ruckus about me buying expensive stuff for my kids rather than investing it in her. Yeah. The next morning, I came home early to set up the gifts and surprise my kids, but guys, to my utter shock, well, the gifts were missing. In a panic, I called my husband Liam, who was the only other person who had access to my closet, and he told me he had seen the gifts, and I knew I was going to surprise Ben and Ginny. He added that he had given the gifts to Camilla in order to hide them better, as the kids could have easily discovered them in the closet. I did not like the idea of my mother-in-law having those gifts, and I called her soon after. Camilla did confirm, however, that the gifts were indeed with her, but she refused to return them to me. Instead, she proceeded with yelling at me, telling me how Ben and Ginny already had stuff and did not deserve such an expensive gift. Instead, I should have given them to Liam's far-off niece and nephew who were not so well off. My anger had only been rising when Camilla put her foot down on not returning the gifts back to me and told me how she was later going to give them to the nephews who deserved it more, as they simply could not afford a nice thing like this. Guys, I was so mad. I literally bought the gifts with my money, and Liam did in fact care about his nieces and nephews. Well then, why did he not take a step to help them out until now? I tried calling Liam to ask him to convince his mother to return the gifts to me, but he had not been picking up. Time was of the essence, and I was forced to take such a drastic step. I called the cops on my mother-in-law because I'm not playing around. I called them for stealing the gifts. The police arrived not long after with the gifts and a very angry mother-in-law in tow. They proceeded to book her and take her away, and I don't know, guys, I felt she deserved it, as she indeed had stolen the gifts and refused to return them. Liam returned that afternoon, and after I told him about what happened and what I've done, he left without so much as a word to me. Ben and Ginny found out about the gifts, and the surprise had been ruined amidst the ruckus caused by Camilla. I even feel worse that their birthday had been ruined by the drama their grandmother had decided to cause. I got to know from a friend of Liam's that he had gotten his mother out on bail. Liam had refused to come back home until I simply apologized to her and made it up by letting Camilla take the gifts and do with them as she pleased. That's right, but I refused. Man. Liam called me an a-hole, and he spread the word to his family, and I started receiving text messages calling me an a-hole and telling me to simply apologize to Camilla now. I'm feeling a little bit conflicted, guys. as this could potentially destroy my marriage, and I've done right by my kids, but I feel like I might have gone too far by calling the police on my mother-in-law. So I ask you guys this. Am I the a-hole for doing what I did? What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. Oh man, a mother-in-law drama. Honestly, mother-in-law stories are one of my favorite because you never know what to expect, and this one is wild. There's 2 updates for this story. If you guys are new to the channel, my name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories every single day. We're about to hit 100,000 subscribers. So if you guys want daily videos, the best way is to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an upload. Alright, let's jump into update number 1 and see what the heck's going on with this family. My husband Liam is mad at me and has moved out to stay with his mother. He said he would not be coming back anytime soon, and this has brought on flashbacks as something similar happened with my ex-husband Tom. As I had expected, I received divorce papers from Liam in a few days. There was also a legal letter that said that he was also filing for custody of my kids and the house. I was appalled at how he could think he could do so. Sure, he adopted them, but they were my kids. I knew Camilla had a hand in this, and I was right, as the truth about Liam's past was revealed to me by a ghost from his past. The house I lived in, partially owned by Liam, so I saw it right if we split the house, but I was not ready to hand over my kids to him, and would put up a very strong fight if needed. Help came in the form of Liam's ex-girlfriend. Right before the hearing, I received an anonymous text asking me to meet up as the person I had information that could help me with cases against Liam and Camilla. I drove to the corner of the city to a dingy little place where people were not familiar, and the chances of running into people you knew were absolutely slim. At the table sat a woman who looked about the same age as Liam, and she introduced herself as Jessica, Liam's ex-girlfriend. An odd feeling took over me as I did not, want to be conversing with his ex, but I was curious to hear what she had to say. Jessica told me that she had gotten word from her friends who knew Liam about the drama that had ensued between me and Camilla. She also knew that he had sent me divorce papers. She advised me on my mother-in-law's behavior and Liam's suspicious behavior, and to simply keep a watchful eye. I pushed her to indulge me a bit further. She told me the cold, hard truth about how she and Liam had separated. Camilla could not bear to see the happiness of her son and would go to any length to destroy his relationship. She was manipulative, and Jessica told me to avoid contact with her at all cost. Jessica told me how Camilla had manipulated her son and was the cause of the breakup between Liam and Jessica. Camilla had been planting doubt in Liam's mind about her, and Camilla told Liam that she had caught Jessica cheating on him and asked Jessica to prove her loyalty. But Liam knew Jessica would never do so and did not fall for the trap that his mother had set up. Well, one day, after a fight between Camilla and Jessica, Camilla called and told her son about how Jessica hit her. There was a lot Liam could take, but he would not take anybody messing with his mother. Camilla had devised a plan and even hit herself hard enough to leave a mark, making it seem that Jessica had indeed struck her. It was a lie that destroyed Liam's relationship and caused him to break up with Jessica right there on the spot, which basically suited Camilla. But she did not stop there. Oh no. She wanted to get back at Jessica in her own way, and after the breakup, she sent Jessica text messages that were so awful. And by the way, she also mocked her. The messages had almost caused Jessica to lose her job. This had been traumatic for Jessica, and she decided to just go ahead and cut them both out of her life, Camilla and Liam. She advised me to do the same, girl, and told me I could use this as evidence against Camilla if I were to win my case. Jessica was so helpful and handed me contacts I could call or text that would provide me with more evidence against Camilla. I thanked her for the help, even though I felt a bit weird about bonding with Liam's ex-girlfriend. I called one of those numbers, and a guy friend of Liam's picked up. This is where it gets crazy. He told me how he had seen Camilla control her son using various mind tricks and games. She had only, one day, made Liam phone him and ask for money to pay a loan shark that had been causing them a lot of trouble. Being a good friend that he was, he had lent the money to Liam in hopes of trusting his friend and getting his money back ASAP, but after receiving the money, Liam blocked him and refused to return the money, claiming he had no knowledge of any such money that he had lent him. The friend got to know that the mastermind behind all this little scheme was no other than his evil mother, Camilla. I thanked everyone who had given me so much incriminating evidence about Camilla. This would certainly help me win my case against her and Liam and win custody of my kids. I told Liam how I knew the truth about him and his little manipulative mother, and there was no way he could gain custody of my kids now, and I told him there was still time to settle this out of court before all the legal drama. Well, guys, I will update you when I receive a reply from Liam. Update number 2. This is the final update. Liam came over the next day saying he needed to talk. He told me how he had been acting under the influence of his mother and how now comes the truth. He said he did not want to proceed with the divorce or custody case and pleaded with me to reconsider. I, however, told him I had had enough of him and his little manipulating mother, and it was time I finally stood up against him for myself. I told him we would settle custody outside of court, but I still will be moving forward with the divorce. Liam looked so dismayed, but I knew if I gave it to his whims, it would be him and his mother against me all over again from the start. With his mother trying to manipulate us and toy with our lives, I could not ask Liam to leave his mother for me, and after how Liam had tried to take Ben and Jenny away from me, I just didn't want him or need him in my life anymore. So I filed for divorce and Liam signed the papers. Well, now it's time to talk about alimony. I received the house. I'd paid more than what Liam had put down on the home, and since my salary had been far less than his, the judge deemed it fair that I get it on my name. I knew Camilla would not be happy about that arrangement, as this was not what she had been aiming for. I had hoped to have a good life with Liam, but I'll tell you guys now, marriage, just did not seem like the right thing in my books. And I have given up on trying to find the right partner. Liam told me to keep in touch as he still favored Ben and Jenny, and in that way they too would not miss his presence. Ben and Jenny understood what happened, and they have been sympathetic and supportive in my divorce with Liam. So, I just hope things will smooth over with time, and I'll find my peace and happiness again. But as long as I have my kids by my side, I will not be too worried, about anything.
Okay, so there was a dilemma in the comment section. A lot of people were saying how they were mad that OP decided to go straight to the cops, basically calling the cops on her mother-in-law for stealing the gifts. But there was also a lot of people saying, hey, if her husband would have spoke up about the way his mother was acting, none of this would have gone so far. So I'm leaning more towards that side. I don't think it was a big deal that she called the cops because, the mother-in-law, she broke the law and stole the presents, and she was getting no help from anybody, but I do want to hear from your perspective. What do you guys think about that? And say, for instance, you were in OP's shoes, would you have done the same? Let me know your opinions. Drop it in the comment section down below. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. My name's Mr. Reddito if you're new to the channel, and I release stories like this every single day, animated, narrated, so if you want daily videos, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.